shot. Folks, 300,000 people tuned in opening night. People gave Unrivaled a chance, and unfortunately, they could not hold. People are watching Collision. So that shows you there's no accounting for tape.
The hype was unreal. Fans were promised a game-changing league, a fresh format, star power, and a faster, more electrifying take on women's basketball. The Unrivaled League was supposed to be the future, but now silence. The initial buzz has faded, the excitement has vanished, and hardly anyone is talking about it. Sure, people tuned in at first. Was it curiosity? Hope, a glimpse into what could be? But the numbers tell the story. Viewership has been underwhelming, momentum non-existent, and the conversation almost dead on arrival. So what went wrong?
Huge issue that we've come across. I'm not talking about the ratings. I'm not talking about the viewership numbers. 89,000 for an Angel Reese game, 120,000 for an Unrivaled game. I'm not even going to talk about that. I'm going to talk about the lack of interest, the lack of excitement, the lack of conversation surrounding.
People expected a revolution in women's basketball. What they got was a league struggling to stay relevant. The hype machine was an overdrive, but now it's running on fume. The numbers don't lie. The Unrivaled League is flopping. Viewership is averaging just 194,000 per game, peaking at 364,000 according to awful announcing. For a league that promised to shake up the sport, these numbers are nothing short of disastrous. So why isn't anyone watching? For starters, the format isn't working. The 3-on-3 style feels less like high competition and more like a backyard scrimmage. It lacks the structure, strategy, and intensity fans expect. Then there's the issue of star power, or rather the lack of it. Without a generational talent like Caitlin Clark, there's no real must-watch factor. And let's talk about marketing. The WNBA already struggles with ratings, so introducing an even smaller version of the game only made things worse. Fans were promised a thrilling, fast-paced alternative. Instead, they got something that feels watered down. The hype train left the station, but somewhere along the way it derailed. So, where does Unrivaled go from here?
When it was the Lunar Owls versus the Mist, they were really pushing the pace the entire game. And from that game, I was able to quickly realize how some players' games are going to be exposed in a good way in 3v3, and some players' games are going to be exposed in a bad way in 3v3 because there is not much room to hide.
Caitlin Clark had a choice: join Unrivaled or focus on the WNBA. She chose the latter, and fans couldn't be happier. According to Essentially Sports, Clark is using this time to prepare for the 2025 WNBA season, a decision that looks smarter by the day. Her absence has only exposed Unrivaled for what it truly is: a league without a true face. Many fans, especially those who followed Clark's historic college career, weren't planning to tune in anyway. Some have even called the league pure trash, suggesting Clark dodged a bullet by staying out of it. And honestly, they might be right. The reality is simple. Caitlin Clark put women's basketball on the map. Without her, Unrivaled lacks a legitimate draw. It was built around personalities, not elite talent, and now it's paying the price. Meanwhile, the WNBA has spent 28 years sticking to the traditional 5v5 format, trying to carve out its place in the sports world. The challenge: getting people to watch. Despite its growth, ratings have never come close to men's basketball, and attendance struggles remain a constant battle. So, where does women's basketball go from here? And more importantly, will Unrivaled even survive long enough to be part of the conversation?
Bad if people aren't making shots, if people aren't hitting shots, or players are starting to get tired. And that's what I started to see in the second day's game. Like, that game with the Phantom that ended up being a blowout was kind of unwatchable. And I also am just going to, that's one of the things I wanted to bring up here. I feel like I'm all over in this when I'm telling you my initial thoughts, but we need to be able to be more honest with our constructive criticism of.
When Unrivaled launched with its 3-on-3 concept, the idea was simple: make the game faster, more exciting, and easier for casual fans to digest. But here's the problem: nobody asked for this. The WNBA already struggles to keep fans invested in its traditional 5-on-5 format. So why would a stripped-down half-court version suddenly change that? And to make matters worse, the league debuted without Caitlin Clark, the biggest name in women's basketball. If the goal was to sell a fresh product, why not secure the one player who actually moves the needle instead? Said Unrivaled launched without true marquee talent, expecting people to care. The result: a league no one is watching, talking about, or even thinking. About Angel Reese was supposed to be unrivaled biggest attraction. She had the personality, the confidence, and a loyal fan base before the league launched. She even declared people are here to watch me too. And I want you all to realize that it was a bold statement. Now it's backfiring. The backlash has been brutal. Fans expected Reese to bring in viewers and generate buzz. But instead the league is sinking. People are openly mocking her sarcastically, saying they're shocked that the Angel Reese effect hasn't saved Unrivaled, and the numbers don't lie. She's not moving the needle the way she thought she would. So with no true star power and a concept no one asked for, the question remains, how much longer can Unrivaled survive?
With each day that passes, with each night that goes on, the chatter and the conversation surrounding Unrivaled diminishes more and more, to the point where we are here at night 6 and nobody, and I mean nobody, is talking about Unrivaled. We have the Laces, which is actually probably the best team or second best team in the league, playing tonight, and absolutely nobody.
And let's be honest, the hype around Angel Reese was always more about drama than dominance. She's a solid player, but she's no Caitlin Clark. Fans didn't flock to watch her in college, and they're not doing it now. Unrivaled bet big on her star power, and it backfired. The internet is ruthless, and Reese is learning that the hard way. When Unrivaled was announced, she positioned herself as a marquee attraction, boldly stating people are here to watch me too. Now, with the league collapsing, fans aren't letting her forget it. Social media is flooded with sarcastic comments like, shocked that the Angel Reese effect hasn't saved the league. Shocked, I tell you. Others joke that she's realizing trash talk doesn't fill seats and personality alone can't keep a league afloat. The backlash is damaging. Once seen as a fiery competitor who thrived as the villain, Reese is now being labeled as overhyped, someone who talked big but didn't deliver when it mattered. If Unrivaled completely fails, it could hurt her brand long-term, making endorsements and future opportunities harder to secure. Right now, she's in damage control mode, and the silence speaks volumes. One user summed it up perfectly: every day the chatter about Unrivaled fades, the fact that no one is even talking about it on a sports-free weekend tells me all I need to know. WWE moved to Netflix, eliminating a major competitor for TV ratings, yet Unrivaled still can't gain traction after this disaster. Will anyone even try this again? Right now, the answer looks like a hard no. Investors and networks gambled on Unrivaled, expecting it to be the next big thing in women's sports. Instead, it's turning into a cautionary tale. Viewership is weak, engagement is non-existent, and there's no demand for a sequel. Even with a rebrand, what would change? The biggest issue wasn't just the format, it was the lack of must-watch players. Without Caitlin Clark, there was no reason for fans to care, and that mistake won't be forgotten for stakeholders in women's basketball. This failure raises major questions. The WNBA is still trying to grow, so splitting attention with another league was never a great idea. Moving forward, investors will likely focus on expanding the WNBA rather than risking more doomed experiments, because Unrivaled proved one thing: not every idea deserves a league. Fans who tuned in expecting high competition were left questioning the overall talent pool. The product on the court sloppy, uninspiring, and nowhere near what was promised. Even visually, it was a mess. So much smoke filled the arena that watching the first quarter felt like peering through dense fog, and the gameplay it didn't deliver. People were promised fast, exciting basketball. Instead, they got a slow, disorganized product. Viewers expected a thrilling alternative, but what they saw felt like glorified pickup games, exposing just how thin the talent pool really is outside the top WNBA players. For women's basketball as a whole, this is a setback. Instead of proving there's room for another league, Unrivaled gave critics more ammo. Casual fans who tuned in for the first time didn't see innovation, they saw a failed experiment. The WNBA has worked for years to build credibility, and now this league just made that job harder. The hype was there, but in the end, Unrivaled fell flat fast. It was supposed to change the game, to offer a fresh new take on women's basketball. Instead, it became a textbook example of what happens when a league is built on buzz instead of substance. The problems were obvious from the start: a format nobody asked for, a lack of true star power, and an encore product that highlighted more weaknesses than strengths. Caitlin Clark's absence only made things worse, proving that without true marquee talent, there's no reason for fans to care. Angel Reese, who once confidently claimed people were watching for her, is now facing the harsh reality of a league crumbling around her. And this failure isn't just about Unrivaled, it's about what it means for the future of women's basketball. Because here's the biggest takeaway: you can't force people to care if women's basketball wants to grow. The focus should be on strengthening the WNBA not diluting the market with doomed side projects Unrivaled wanted to change the game, but all it really did was prove that hype alone isn't enough to build a league.